Welcome to the Quick 10 podcast, brought to you by Trac, focusing on all things FedCon and cyber defense from different perspectives and different personalities, all in 10-ish minutes. Here's your host, Derek White.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Quick 10 podcast. I'm your host, Derek White with Beryllium and Trac, joined today by David Bedard from KTL Solutions.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well.
We're here in person at CUI-CON or CUI-CON or whatever we're going to call it this year in Orlando, Florida, here early part of 2026 in February. You are speaking
Yes.
This week. We're going to talk about that in a second. But more importantly, can you kind of let the listeners and watchers know a little bit about what you guys do and a little about you, and then we'll get into that topic.
Sure. KTL Solutions, we've been around for over 20 years. We are a Microsoft service provider or partner. Started out in the business with, Business Central, ERP, kind of expanded out of that business model, and then eventually got into being one of the first AOSG partners out there for the government space for GCC High, Azure Government. And since then kind of built out the compliance end of the business. We are now an authorized C3PAO. We have a full consulting side of the services. So we pretty much have been in the industry for quite some time. And 2020 was when we were kind of came up on the radar because we were the ones that assisted the first C3PAO, Redspin, with building out their environment so they could become an authorized C3PAO.
So great. Yeah, we had Redspin on a couple times. So I had them on this morning, which was great. Yeah,
great people.
Yeah, they are great people. That is true. So thank you for coming on. Your role specifically is Director of Compliance.
Yes.
Is that correct? Where you see most of your time being spent now as it comes through what you were just talking about, and why that's going to apply to the topic of architectural choices.
Yeah, a lot of the times nowadays I spend most of the time talking with clients on the upfront part of everything. It's kind of the scoping and what they're actually looking to accomplish, and getting to understand where are they coming from. Do they even understand where their data is entering their environment, how the data is actually going through their environment, who actually has to touch the data. And there's this big misconception out in the industry. CMMC, the first word out of CMMC is cybersecurity, so they think it's an IT problem. Unfortunately, the IT person gets involved with it, and they don't really talk with the people that initially get involved, your business capture people. It's like, okay, what are you bidding on? What are those contracts are involved? Is that contract federal contract information? Is it actually considered CUI? We start digging into these questions. Then we start digging into the questions of, okay, how are you collaborating? Okay, are you using some type of FTP file share? Are you getting this information through the actual, website for the client? Do we have this information? Oh, by the way, what happens when this stuff doesn't work? What are you using? Oh, you got a box account? Oh, IT didn't know about that. Well, let's kind of factor all that into there. So now we got to look at all these various components and say, how do we put Humpty Dumpty together in a semblance that will actually be in scope for this is what CMMC looks like for us to actually attempt or be ready for certification on. And that's not even counting the policies, the procedures, the documentation. But without understanding where this data is coming from, it's hard to protect that environment. So that's where I usually find a lot of my time is spent trying to figure out architecturally what's going to work for an organization. Is a 100% cloud environment going to work? Is a cloud native environment, being a laptop and Office 365, is that all they're going to need? Is it going to require something that's on-prem and has some segmentation, and we're dealing with contractor risk managed assets because we're dealing with a manufacturer that has a manufacturing floor, they have CNC machines? Don't know until we start asking the questions. So a lot of the times it starts at the conversation of data. What data are you dealing with? How is it flowing? Where is it going?
When you talk to somebody for the first time and they've two scenarios. They haven't done anything. I'm assuming that's where the scoping becomes very, very important for that conversation. What happens if they have made a decision that they are moving away from? Do you see any difference in maybe how things were a couple of years ago if they want to move into a better architecture, something designed by you guys or managed by you guys? Are you starting to see some of that stuff play out?
It depends on where they are as an organization. So part of the scoping discussion is also a matter of understanding the business operations. I mean, how much of your business is actually federal contract or contract work? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? You know, what does that relate to in regards to dollars? Is it 50% of your profit? Okay, well then, you know, 20% of your work, 50% of your profit, you know, and what are the folks that are involved? Does it make sense to carve out an enclave? Does it make sense to go all in? This actually gets put to executive management for something they have to decide because they have to live with that choice. So as consultants, we just have to be able to outline and definitively show them this is what will happen if you go this way. This is what happens if, you know, if all their business is contract work, obviously the all-in approach tends to be the right way. But if a lot of their business is commercials and 40% is contract, maybe it might make sense to have that CUI enclave over here and then have everything over here for just the federal contract information, because your business capture people, time's money for them.
Right.
And a lot of the times, if they have to log into an enclave to get to a VDI machine in order to read an email message that came in last night when they could have just as easily got it on the phone the day before, responded at night, and had a response, you know, and your business capture people are just going to be yelling at you saying, this enclave thing doesn't work for me. Well, that's because you didn't talk with them ahead of time to understand data flow.
Right.
So that's why a lot of the times the architectural design is one of the important things along with the actual data flow.
And they want to say more to yes, or sorry, they want to say yes to more.
Yes.
And so that, and thank you for highlighting that, because I think that's one of the overlooked areas too of contractors trying to navigate this. And it will expand. We know it's going to go beyond defense, and different things are going to change and evolve as we go. But saying yes to this project and this sale, if you will, this capture, this could be different than how that flow and communication and collaboration might go over here. So if you make a decision based on an opportunity here, but it doesn't fit that one, then we run into. So is it safe to say then the architecture side that you guys are helping them with is a way to make it better so they can say yes to this and say yes to that, as far as contract pursuits?
Yes.
So their scope can stay, essentially the flows can stay the same versus trying to chop it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, any carpenter out there will tell you, measure twice, cut once. In this case, you know, we really need to understand everything. Without understanding everything, I can go down the path and then all of a sudden I get most of the way where I think I should be going, only to find out now I got to scrap everything, rebuild it, and re-architect everything because I forgot this one little component over here.
Yeah.
And this one little component is just so critical that it just blew up my entire architectural design. That's what ends up happening a lot of the times. Folks will buy technology, they'll buy solutions, they'll invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then all of a sudden it's like, I just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, thousands of hours of time, for what? The assessor just told me I can't pass.
Yeah. On the fifth question. Not
That's an expensive assessment at that point.
Yeah.
Just for not taking the time to clearly plan everything from an architectural design.
Well, clearly you guys have experience. A lot of lessons learned over the last 12 months for people that I had on last year. We were on site at this particular event versus some of the other ones. You know, has been, I think, comforting for those that are watching and listening, is that lessons had to be learned in this. That's why they didn't just say, everyone get certified tomorrow, because otherwise you don't get to work with us. They had to phase it in. Yep. C3POs that have been on have talked, and CCAs have talked about lessons they've learned. The providers have learned, tools have learned, even the OSCs that we've talked to on the floor here I think this is why they come to conferences like this, is because some of the topics might be redundant, but they're redundant for a reason. It's because it's still an understanding that's evolving and being clear, which is good. So thank you for stepping aside for a few minutes. I know you've got a busy couple days here, and you're presenting tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's going to be a good topic on what we just talked about today. So this will come out after that, so we didn't spoil anything, so that's good. Okay. Where can people go that want to connect with you and or KTL Solutions directly if they want to learn more?
Sure. They can go to our website, which is www.ktlsolutions.com. As mentioned, we are a Business Central shop. We're a full development Business Central, so we do custom program, custom work, and ERP. A lot of our government clients that have moved over previously with GCC High are also finding, hey, that ERP that we had, yeah, it does have CUI in there, but our ERP solution does not support that, is not FedRAMP or can't be installed on-prem. What can you help us with? These are some of the things that we have lots of clients that ask us about. We also offer a full beginning to end as far as consulting services. We are a managed service provider. We've luckily, knock on wood, have had 100% success with our clients over the last year for getting them through their assessment the first go. But it takes work. It takes a lot of work. It's not something that if somebody tells me, go and do it for me, I'm going to tell them, sorry, I can't help you. You've got to be there with me. It's a partnership. And then for those that don't get KTL services, that want somebody with Microsoft experience to assess their organization, we are also an authorized C3PAO, so we can do those assessments. We just don't consult.
Yeah, thank you for laying that out, because that's another thing that I don't think people can always gather from just going to websites or hearing, hey, you should go talk to them because they might want to talk to you about topic A, but you need to talk to them about topic B as well, otherwise topic A might not resonate.
Yes,
safe
exactly.
To say, right? That's where the experience comes into play. So, all right, thank you, David. Really appreciate it. I want to have you on again. Next time we can get together and do something like this, we'll make sure we have you on.
All right, pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure to subscribe to the Cuick 10 podcast wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Cuick Trac, visit our website at www.cuicktrac.com.